that Michael Palin, Terry Jones, and I were doing a children's show called Do Not Adjust Your Set. True story. And then John was watching it with Graham, and he said, let's get them. And they came and got us, and that's how Python started.
That's right. We were writing a lot of stuff for Peter Sellers. We wrote 3 screenplays for Peter Sellers, and we used to stop on Thursday afternoon. I'm pretty sure it was Thursday afternoon, at about 4:30 to watch this kids program, which just happened to be the funniest thing on English television at that time. It was much funnier than anything on the evenings. And we just loved it. And Gilliam was already doing very primitive animations, right?
Yes, we brought him in the second series, yes.
So because we knew each other a little bbit, it was very easy. I said to Graham, why don't we do a show with these guys? And we rang you up, and you were a bit snotty. You'd had an offer from a guy called Philip Jones at Thames, am I right?
We had an offer from ITV. You wanted us to go on the BBC.
And you thought about it for a couple of weeks, and then you came back and said, oh, all right.
I think that they offered us our own show because we'd been very successful on ITV for them, but they wanted us to do a late night, 45-minute show, 9:30 at night, but they didn't have any studios for 2 years. So they didn't have any studios available.
A television company with no studios.
It was England. So we thought, well, we'll do that, and then we'll go back and do the other one.
Do the other really good one.
Because we didn't know it was going to be Monty Python.
No.
You know,
people never know that things are going to be successful. They really don't. I mean, when we started, we knew we were going to do something a bit risky. Yes?
We knew what we weren't going to do.
Yes.
I think we weren't.
A whole lot of conventions of comedy, like punchlines and musical stings at the end of sketches, and cutting to presenters and all that kind of thing. We knew we didn't want to do that, but I mean, you tell your version of what happened when we got together and a guy called Barry Took, who was a sort of friend of ours, who used to work with Marty Feldman, arranged for us to go and meet the head of BBC Light Entertainment.
Well, you tell it because it's in the book.
It's in the book.
Yeah. No.
Well, I wanted to hear your version, because what you discover is everybody's got a different version. And
but I like yours.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, we said to Barry Took we would like to do something together, and he arranged it. And we went along to the BBC, and we always used to go in wearing jeans and sort of black leather jackets and that kind of thing, instead of wearing suits. And he was a nice guy, and he knew us a little bit, but not terribly well, right?
Right.
And he said to us, well, I gather you guys want to do a series. And we said, yes, that's what we want to do. And he said, well, tell me what you're proposing to do. And we hadn't really discussed it. Do you agree?
I agree, yes. We said, oh, we don't really know.
No, we said we want to do a humorous show, obviously, with jokes and gags, and
we said, well, will we have other people in it? We said, oh, we don't really know.
We said, what about music? And we said, we might have some music.
Maybe, yeah.
So what about film? He said, oh, yes, we said, we definitely have some film. And then there was this embarrassed silence, and I am particularly prone to embarrassment, and I thought this is the worst meeting that's ever taken place. I mean, this is a sort of non-pitch meeting, you know. And then Michael looked at us and said, oh, go away and do 13 shows.
Yeah. That's what he said. He said, but I'm only going to give you 13.
That's right. Well, I'd forgotten he said that. That's right.
That'll do. And they never wanted to read scripts. We never had to go through meetings. We had no executives. It was unbelievable. That's all you need to succeed in comedy.
But it says something about creativity, because we did actually come up with something that most people say was genuinely original. And at that moment, we had no idea what we were going to do.
No, I think even halfway through we didn't have much of an idea. I mean, we would we'd write stuff every 5 or 6 days, and we'd get together at Jones's house, because he had the biggest house. And then we read out the stuff, and if it was funny, we would say, well, that's in the show. And if it wasn't funny, we'd say, well, we'll sell that to Barker and Corbett. And Roy Hudd or David Frost, you know, because we were all still working writers, so there was nothing wasted.
But what Eric said was, I mean, I'm going to pay all of us one compliment, is we were very good on script. So if you'd written something that didn't really quite work, someone would say, wait a moment, that bit there, about a third of the way in, that's very funny for a bit. And then someone would say, well, why don't you develop that? Maybe you could do that. You see what I mean? And then you could take away a piece of material and use just a quarter of it or a third of it and build that up, or even just take that little bit and stick it between two other sketches. So there was an enormous expertise. I mean, there was no better group I've ever come across to give material to get feedback from.
It was very honest, too. There was no like, oh, I see, well, that sucks after page 3, people would say. You know, that's really bad, you know.
Sure.
And then people didn't get offended. There was like a writer's group. There's a great honesty in writing comedy. You really do want to know when it stops being funny.
Yes.
Because you don't want to be out there with it if it's not working.
That's
so
right.
It was very useful like that. And when we actually ran out of ideas, and we couldn't make it any funnier, we'd just say, oh, well, cut to Terry Gilliam animation. And he would take it from there, and he would lead us into another sketch, you know, and it would have like a minute and a half to fill. And he would just... And what was interesting about it, when I look at the shows now, is because of the animation, it looks like it's frameworked by the animation. So it looks like it's meaning something. And all these disparate things seem to be going somewhere, which is a complete illusion.
Yeah.
It's just a series of gags and sketches. But it has the impression of being something because it's bookended and it's got the framework of Gilliam.
Yeah, that's right. And yet Gilliam's stuff came in at the last moment because we wrote the script first. And then in the script, as Elle says, it would say, you know, it's the end of the pet shop. And then we want to get to an undertaker. And then we'd say a shorter piece or a longer piece. And then Terry would go away and animate that. And we never saw it until the afternoon of the recording. And he would bring it in and show it to us. That was the first time we ever saw it.
Yeah, it really was. And it was crap.